As we get the Lieutenant Governor here, he has been busy fighting liberals all day. And just as soon as we have him speak, we're going to have 8 questions, 4 from Waddy's team that are doing the action group team, and then 4 other questions from the floor. The questions from the floor we'll just take right here at this microphone. As soon as those questions are over, I'm going to come up and present him a gift. But unfortunately, he has to rush out. He is going to be on an airplane flight tonight and be addressing the NRA convention in Houston, Texas tomorrow. So it's our privilege to have it. So why don't we wait for the Lieutenant Governor to tell him what Waddy can tell us about the action team? Waddy is our former chairman, but he didn't want to retire. I tried to make him chairman again, but Waddy figured out how to get all the fun and let me do all the work. So, thank you, Chairman.
John,
former chairman.
I'm glad you're here. Now, John, let me ask a question here. Can I just, as soon as I finish introducing, I'll be able to let them talk, correct? The teams?
If the Lieutenant Governor's not here.
Then
But as soon as we get him in the building, we're going to get him in and get him out.
we'll make way. Well, for some of you who don't know me, I'm Waddy Davis. I'm a patriot, I'm an advocate, like most of you in here tonight. But I want to introduce a new initiative that we're doing here in Orange County. And we're setting up advocacy action teams. You know, there's a lot of people after the election that were down, didn't feel like we were doing much, didn't know what to do. So we have something now we need to do. We've got these teams we set up and we're tackling key issues. We're hitting education. You're going to hear about that tonight. Second Amendment gun rights. They are coming after us from every direction. Voter integrity. You know what we think about that, what we need to do. And immigration. You see what's going on our border today. It's a mess. So we're going to be talking about these issues and how they're impacting the direction of our country that needs to be resolved and needs to be addressed at the county, state, and national levels. So we're witnessing a left-leaning movement that is sweeping across our country today. So we established in these teams, we established goals and action steps to build awareness with our fellow conservatives, all of you out there, because a lot of people, not you, there's a lot of people out there about an inch deep and a mile wide, and they really come to knowing, well, really what's going on in education today. So we're going to find out. We need people to get involved with that. So we're witnessing, let's see, we're establishing goals and actions to build awareness to our fellow conservatives. We're going to lobby our elected officials for policy changes. We're attacking the policies because that's where you got to peel back the issue. Look into policies. We're using a digital organizational platform, tools called Slack. What it's doing is helping us come together as a team. We were able to consolidate communications. The goal is to get Orange County and other conservative groups in North Carolina. We're spreading this out. We're the incubator here, moving out. And we're going to other North Carolina GOP counties. So we're getting other county chairman contiguous around us. And the host state is 99 other counties out there we can reach out and touch. Why are we doing this? Because we want to synchronize so we can make calls to action with one voice, one speaker, one voice. The way we can this way we can cast a wider net out there with outreach and get a unifying message to our elected officials, our legislature, and the Congress. Now we're going to give you a brief update on each one of these 4 areas we're talking about, these issues we're working. So at the end of the meeting, I said, I'd like, if you're interested in this and want to get involved, you want to help make an impact, we have a table in back, and I really encourage you to come back and talk to us, see what we're doing, and sign up to help out, because that's what we need to do, is get involved. So I'm going to lead off. I'm going to be first at bat.
Well, we went to Lieutenant Governor here, man.
What's that?
Go ahead and invite Mark to introduce him. The Lieutenant Governor's here.
He's here. Okay. Well, I'll go into my introduction.
Go ahead and get the introduction. Go ahead and introduce him. That's what happened at the county. Okay, I trust you there. Welcome, Mark. All right, we're fortunate. We're also blessed to have Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson here tonight with us. He's the voice of Christian values.
exceptionalism, individualism. He stands up for socialistic thinking that's invading and sweeping across our state and country. Mark, I was thinking, talking about all the things you got on your plate. It's like when I was in the Middle East, the camel, we used to talk about the camel get his head underneath the tent. And the next thing you know, the camel's in the tent. So it's a new day for the Republican Party. Let's recognize, let's welcome Mark Robinson back to our
Righty.
Make yourself at home.
How's everybody doing? Good. Very first thing before we do anything else, particularly because we're in the church, thank the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. As always, got to give him thanks for everything that he does for us. He's the reason why we have this wonderful country and all these freedoms that we have. He's the one that endowed us with these freedoms. So we have to give him thanks every time we speak, every time we get a chance. I've been busy, to say the least. Actually, today wasn't that bad. Actually, today I got to preside over the Senate, and then I did a state school board meeting. I did the state school board meeting virtually. I wanted to go live, but I did not go live because, full disclosure, I was not feeling well. I believe I overindulged last night on some steak. Wasn't agreeing with it, so I chose to stay back and do it online. But I really enjoy all the things that I get to do as lieutenant governor and serving. I really do. Sometimes I get very tired when I look at my schedule and I go, my goodness, I have to go here and there and go and back and forth. But then I have to stop myself and I have to realize, man, how many other people get to do what I get to do? How many other people get to travel across the state, travel across the nation? How many other people have news agencies calling them, wanting to do interviews to find out what you think? I mean, this is not something that is a burden at all. It's not a burden at all. And I told somebody, they said, how are you liking the job so far? And I said, job? Job was when I worked in the factory. That was a job. Going into work, having to be there at 6 o'clock, punch a clock, leaving at 4:30 in the afternoon, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and not being able to grip the wheel because your hands are so tired. That's a job. Job is, going home after you put in 12 hours at work, or cooking and cleaning, helping the kids with homework. That's a job. The things that people get up and do every day to make it happen, to make this country happen, to make their families happen, to make their homes successful and their lives successful. That's a job, and it's work, and it's hard work. What I'm doing right now is a privilege. This is a privilege. And I do not understand why more people who are elected officials don't understand that what they do is not a job. It is an absolute 100% privilege. Someone left their house, went down to a voting poll with my name in mind and pressed my name and said, I believe that this man is the person that I want to represent. That is a privilege. And every day that I wake up, I try to remember that. So that when I go to work, I am there not for myself, I am there for you. To make sure that your voice is heard and make sure that I'm doing your will. Because at the end of the day, I want to make sure that your lives are made better, and this state is made better, and that the future for my grandchildren and and those who come after them are better. That's how I think that every elected official should see it. That being said, there are some things that are going on right now that I find extremely distressing, and I'm sure you do too. I was very pleased when I pulled up and saw the Blue Lives Matter stuff out front, because I tell you, God lines things up. And that has been on my mind all week. That has been on my mind all week, real heavy. Ever since I went to the funerals of these two deputies in Watauga County. It has been weighing on my mind very heavily, what's going on in this station right now with law enforcement. I've told people all over the state, I've told people on radio, television, I don't care if people think I sound like a conspiracy theorist. You can tell me whatever you want. You can call me whatever you want to call me. I'm not following a conspiracy. I'm following history. And here is history. In every nation that has ever been taken over by despotic forces, there are certain things that they seek to do and certain things that they seek to control. Number one thing they seek to control the education system. They want to vex the minds of the children inside the classroom to try to sway them to their side. And they know that one of the most effective ways to do that is through teaching in the classroom. Teaching the tenets of whatever it is they want taught in the classroom. We see that going on to a great degree all across our society. Another thing they try to do is they want to control your health care. They want to tell you when you can go to the doctor, how you can go to the doctor, what doctor you can go to, what medicines you can have, what medicine you can't have, whether or not you got to take a vaccine, whether or not you can take a vaccine, where you can go if you haven't taken that vaccine. They want to control your health care. Another thing they want to do is they want to control your source of food. It's been done in every nation that's ever been taken over by a despotic regime. They control the source of your food. They take over farms, they collectivize. The Soviet Union, they did this. There was mass starvation. They did it in China. There was mass starvation. In every one of these regimes, we see a move to nationalize your food source so that you cannot determine how you feed yourself. They will determine how you are fed. And then finally, we see in every one of these situations, we see a degeneration of law and order. An absolute degeneration of law and order. Take for example, Nazi Germany. The streets of Nazi Germany were in chaos. You had the communists and the Nazis fighting each other in the streets. You had chaos. The police forces were almost, inept, being able to take care of it. Then we saw this move through Hitler to kind of almost nationalize this police force, have a secret police, the same way we saw with the Russians when they took over and the communists took over. They had this national secret police that kept the order. Saw the same things in China and Cambodia and Cuba. Secret federal police officers that are meant to keep the peace according to the regime. And now in the United States of America, a place where other people come from other nations and go, my goodness, how in the world did you guys find so many honest men to be police officers? I cannot tell you how many times I've heard that from people from overseas. They come here and they are amazed that we are able to round up this many men voluntarily to be this honest in the role of serving as police officers. They are amazed because many of the countries that they come from, the police is absolutely corrupt. They're absolutely corrupt. They know police corruption firsthand. Can't do anything about it. And in this nation, we have men and women who volunteer, sign up, go train, and go out on the street and service. And the absolute overwhelming majority of those men and women are good, decent, and honest. I get tired of having to defend police officers. I get tired of it. I never have to defend doctors, even though medical malpractice is one of the worst things that runs rampant in this country. It's one of the leading causes of death in this country. Nobody's running around saying, hey, just because one doctor was bad and came to work, maybe high on some type of drug or not being qualified for this, cause the death of somebody. There's no reason we should demonize all of them. Nobody's having to make that argument. Why are we having to make that argument against our police officers? I can tell you why. We're having to make that argument against our police officers because this is an engineered move by the left to destroy policing in this nation. I said it, I meant it, that's what's happening. Someone got mad at me the other day because I made this statement. I said, I don't understand why it is that so many people like Black Lives Matter, are so concerned with the headache of police brutality and show such lack of concern over the cancer of systemic violence in minority neighborhoods. And that person became enraged with me, said, how dare you call police brutality a headache? Is that what you think it is, a headache? You think it's just a headache? And I said, absolutely. Here's why. You see, a headache can be many things. A headache might just be a tension headache because you happen to be standing in front of a leftist that understands very little about life. You become completely frustrated with trying to explain. You've used all of your crayons and all of your paper trying to explain to them how the world works. Now you have a tension headache. So you go and you take some Aleve and drink some water and it goes away. That can be a headache. But here's what it can also be a headache. A headache could be a migraine, a blinding migraine, debilitating migraine that recurs over and over and over again, that you have to go to the doctor and find out the root cause of it, and he gives you a prescription for it. That can be another headache. But then a headache can also be an inoperable brain tumor that will eventually kill you. But here's the thing, and this is why I describe police brutality as a headache, because it doesn't matter whether it's a tension headache, a migraine, or a tumor. If you have a headache, you cannot ignore it. You cannot ignore it. It is there front and center, and it has got to be dealt with, diagnosed, and taken care of. Police brutality is indeed a headache that we have to deal with, diagnose, and take care of, because we desperately need our police to be, just like we need our heads, we need our police officers to be there on the job. We need them to be purged of their ranks of bad officers. We need to look at every incidence of it, and we need to make sure that it's not systemic in the force. It's not every police officer on the force that the officer involved is just that tension headache we can take a pill and get rid of. Not a systemic problem that we have to do drastic surgery on. Yeah, it's a headache. Here's what the cancer is. The cancer is the gangs that we see roaming the streets every night. The cancer is the crack dealers hanging out on the corner, recruiting our children into their gangs to sell their drugs. The cancer are the human traffickers that are kidnapping children and women around this nation and around this world. And right now, folks, that has been ignored. Absolutely 100% ignored. Do you realize in the week that the same week that the shooting in Pasquotank County happened, there was a 7-year-old child who was murdered in a road rage incident. 7-year-old boy was murdered in a road rage incident. There was a 7-year-old child killed in a gang shooting in Chicago. Yeah, I have a list on my telephone right now on my phone that I've saved on my phone. In the 4 months after the George Floyd killing, crime in inner city neighborhoods has spiked in some places as much as 400%. 400%. That is a cancer, and if it is not treated, it will kill these neighborhoods and the people in it. We're not looking at it. Why are we not looking at it? Folks on the left don't want you to look at that. What they want you to look at is the 1 or 2 police officers, the 1 or 2 bad actors, and all those thousands, hundreds of people that are being murdered every day. They don't want you looking at that. Well, I'm going to look at it. And I'm going to talk about it. And so should you. See, because what they've got us right now, they've got us running scared. You know, when they talk about police brutality, and you say, well, I don't really think that's the problem. I really think what's the problem is gang violence. The first thing they holler at you and tell you is this: oh, you're a racist. You're blaming those people in those inner cities. You just think it's all on them. It's not, you know, your eyes are deceiving you.
Thanks, WRAL.
Yeah, WRAL, we really are liberal. Quite familiar with that punch over there. I'm basically telling you is this. You see, there's the truth and there's a narrative. And right now, the narrative is overtaking the truth. And it would be all right if the narrative was taking over the truth, if it was doing some good, but it's not. The fact that the narrative is overtaking the truth is costing lives. It's costing lives. It's not just causing a problem. It's not just costing us money. It's not just costing us a little trouble in the media. It's costing lives. This degeneration of the police force that we're seeing right now. People leaving in droves. Young men and women who once upon a time wanted to be police officers are looking now saying, oh, no, I'm not going to go put my neck on the line. I'm not going to be the next one to stop somebody from getting stabbed and then end up quite possibly going to jail. I'm not going to be the one that's fighting for his life on the side of the road and has to kill a criminal suspect who's hyped up on drugs and then have my face splayed all over the camera, called a racist and a bigot, part of the problem instead of part of the solution. So we see these young men and women not entering the profession. We see some of the good ones in the profession leaving the profession. And here's the worst part. The worst part is not what's happening with the police. The worst part is what's happening with the criminals. Because you know they have televisions too. They sit at home and watch WRL too. And when they see that WRL is on their side instead of the police side, oh, it gives them it's an open range now. I can go out here and do anything I want to do, ply my wares, be as big and bad as I want to be. As soon as Johnny Law tries to put his hand on me, all I got to do is throw out the code word: racism, police brutality. And every criminal action that I've ever done will be forgotten and washed away. All the criminal infractions that George Floyd had before he ended up dying on the sidewalk underneath a policeman's knee. Completely forgotten about. And we've raised this man up to be some kind of hero. This camera on, is it recording?
Yes.
Who is it recording for? Is this on Facebook? It's live. I want it to be live because I'm going to say this. George Floyd is not no hero to me. If anything, George Floyd should serve as a warning to our young black men out here of how not to be. How not to be. Go ahead and say it plain. You're not smart enough to survive a traffic stop. You are doomed in life. I got a little video, I think a comedian Chris Rock made a video. You want to learn how to survive a traffic stop? I got a video I'll show you. All you got to do is say yes, sir, and no, sir. Yes, I know I'm driving and my driver's license is suspended. What do we need to do here, officer? Do you need to take me downtown? You see, because there's a process to go through. And this is the problem. This is the problem. We no longer teach our children about the process. We teach our children to argue with the police on the side of the road because he's a white bigot. We teach our children to raise sand because the blue lights come on, because that's the cool thing to do. See, there's a process. Not knowing that you get stopped and you have to go to court. Most of the advantage is in your favor when you get there. I know for sure that plenty of times I stood in court, they should have threw the book at me. Remember the first speeding ticket I got? I think I was going 75 and a 35. Woo! That Camaro was burning the road up. Police officer pulled me over and said, he didn't pull me over and throw it on, shady, he just pulled me over and said, why are you going so fast? Those were his words. Why are you going so fast? Gave me a ticket, 60 and a 35. Said, come to court and we'll work on it. Went to court and he worked on it. Time I walked out there, it was 45 and a 35. And the judge gave me a nice long lecture while he was smoking his Winston cigarette about the dangers of speeding on the highway. But what it all it came down to was this. The cop that pulled me over was a white man. The judge that pulled me over was a white man. The DA in the courtroom was a white woman. And they all treated me with the utmost respect. Do you know why? Because I did what my mama told me to do. I treated them with the utmost respect. Not about the color of your skin. I just idiot on Twitter tell me and said, oh, well, you know, this guy thinks law enforcement is all right. I like to put him in a car with the tags out of date and have him drive through North Carolina. Obviously, you don't know my story. You can ask my wife, I was notorious about not getting my tags in date. And it used to drive my wife crazy. Come home with them pink things, them pink pieces of paper. Because I didn't go get my tags in date. And not one time when I got pulled over by the police, that I ended up in handcuffs, that I ended up being disrespected, that I ended up being brutalized. Because when I was pulled over, I rolled down the window with a smile and said, yes, officer. I know you're stopping me because my tag's out of date. My wife's told me. And every conversation I had with every officer standing at my window was pleasant and courteous and professional because I understood what it takes. Number one, I understood what it took for him to stand there. He doesn't know me. That man doesn't know me. Doesn't know who I am. I could be John Dillinger Jr. He doesn't know. I could have just killed somebody. I could have a gun sitting up under my seat ready to shoot him when he walks up. I've always respected police officers because police officers have the utmost of courage. They face some of the most dangerous situations ever. And the last thing they need is to be harassed and harangued by an idiot that can't keep his tags in date. So we got to change this narrative that's going on with our law enforcement right now, folks. We have got to change it. And again, here it is. Some people may not like this, but this is the absolute truth. When I talk about politics, I'm gonna move because I got to walk. I can't stand here without walking. When I talk about politics in this nation, I cannot help to point out the difference between the two parties. It is as stark as day and night, just like it was many moons ago. Many moons ago, we had a party that supported white supremacy, slavery, Jim Crow, was against giving women the right to vote. And we had another party that fought like heck to end slavery, fought against Jim Crow, and fought to give women the right to vote. Today, we have a party that fights against life through abortion. They fight against liberty through censorship and through trying to take away your Second Amendment rights. They fight against the pursuit of happiness through the destruction of our education system. We have another party that stands up for life because they stand up for the unborn. That's right. It stands up for liberty because it tries to protect your Second Amendment and tries to protect your free speech. It stands up for the pursuit of happiness by trying to give you every opportunity to take advantage of the capitalism that exists in this constitutional republic. The Republican Party is that party. And it is the Republican Party now that stands for law and order. We are the party that you see wearing the back to blue shirts, the blue line flags, standing up for law enforcement, fighting against the agenda of the left to destroy our police officers. We are the ones that are standing in the breach. The reason you are here tonight is because of that. Folks, this is no longer a fight between Republican and Democrat. I hate to say that. It's not. This is a fight between people who love America, people who hate it, want to fundamentally transfer it. Time for us to get serious. Time for us to get serious about this fight. I've said it many, many times. It's time for us to get as loud when we tell the truth as they are when they're telling their lies. Not be afraid to do it. So tonight I want you to think about it. when you think about it, don't really think about the issue. I want you to think about the people behind the issue. I want you to think about those children out there in their mother's wombs that may be killed through abortion. I want you to think about all of your friends and your neighbors and yourselves. When it comes right down to it, you are responsible for protecting yourself. I want you to think about our children. What's at stake when we talk about education? Think about those children. And I want you to think about those young men and women who are out there right now, some of them out there right now, getting up to go work third shift, putting on a uniform, putting on a gun, putting on a badge, kissing their spouse. They might not ever see them again, just like those deputies in Watauga County. And they're not doing it for fame or fortune or glory. They're doing it for their communities because they love them just that much. That's who we need to think of. We need to remember. We need to get involved, and we need to make sure that we are the ones that are preaching the truth, not preaching this false narrative. Tell you, our constitutional republic and the freedom thereof is at hand. We need to make sure that we're doing due diligence to preserve what we have for future generations. The one thing I do not want to do ever, be an old man on my deathbed, having to stare up at the ceiling of my last moments and wonder why I wasn't man enough to keep the freedom of my children and my grandchildren. When I leave this earth, I want to leave a legacy. The legacy I want to leave, number one, is a legacy of being a person who stood up for the will of God and stood up for God Almighty. And number two, a legacy of freedom. Passed down, same way it was passed down to me from past folks, from George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and all the other people who have stood up and fought for our freedom. Guys, I encourage you all. You're here tonight. You're here tonight to fight for that freedom and to stand organized for that freedom. I encourage you to stand strong and continue. Let's fight on. Let's fight on to preserve this republic and do the right thing. God bless you all. Thank you very much. God bless our family. God bless the great state of North Carolina.
I ask that you respect him as you roll down your window and say yes, sir, no, sir. Be respectful this time. Quick questions. One, I'm going to let you direct it from here. Okay?
Oh, can y'all hear me if I move away from here? Everybody hear me? What's going on there? Got Walker in the house. Mark Walker in the house. How you doing? Good to see you.
Mark, the question I've got has to do with the Second Amendment and gun rights. You know, based on the current assault on gun rights and the Second Amendment, what do you believe are the most important actions we can take now and the priorities we should focus on to defend these rights?
The number one thing we need to make sure that we're doing, we need to become familiar with what's coming down from the federal government, from the Biden administration, the moves that they're trying to make. Some of the things that I'm most concerned with are some of the things he said on the campaign trail when he was talking about putting these taxes on assault rifles, on magazines that hold 30 rounds. My whole thing is it violates, I believe it's the 24th Amendment. It violates the spirit of the 24th Amendment against the poll tax. You know, you cannot have a poll tax. Voting is an essential right. You can't have a tax that holds that up. And it's the same way with that, I believe. You cannot place these excessive tax on firearms to keep people from being able to take part of this, take advantage of their Second Amendment rights. The second thing I would encourage people to do, I think, and this is one of the reasons people want me to run for the U.S. Senate, and one of the reasons why I didn't run for the U.S. Senate, other than the fact that I have only been in this job for a few minutes, is that I truly believe it's going to take states to start standing up to the federal government and just flat out telling them, no, not doing it. You're violating the Constitution. You're violating the people's constitutional rights. We will not follow along with the programs that you're pushing. I think that's very important. I think we need to make moves within the state to do that.
Mark, we have the next question on education. Chris Rowland.
Thanks.
Mark, Chris, come on up here so you can hear you on the microphone.
I got it big enough now, but all right. My question is regarding the new task force you set up.
Yes.
Facts. Can you tell us in general, how's it going and specifically for our county in Orange?
Okay, so the facts task force, we knew that this was a huge problem. We kind of underestimated how huge. We have got such a tremendous response. When we first started the task force, the system just became overwhelmed and it shut it down. We had to go back and redo it and bolster it up. We've gotten so many responses from it. The whole purpose behind, the initial purpose behind this task force is those folks on the left, their favorite thing they always say is, where's the data? Where's the data? Where's the proof? That's what we're in the process of doing now. We're in the process of collecting the proof. Once we've collected the proof, then we're going to organize the proof. Believe it or not, there are a lot of these complaints are coming from teachers. Teachers are really complaining, particularly about the critical race theory stuff. That has become almost the highlight of this, is the fact that these teachers are being told that they have to go in these trainings where they're told that they're bigots. And it's dividing people in the classroom, it's dividing the teachers. And so that has become a huge issue. But that's going to be the first step. Take this information, organize it. And then once we've organized and found out exactly how big it is, then we're going to make the next step. And we purposely not said what the next step is going to be, because we don't want the folks on the other side, I don't know what we're doing. But make no mistake about it, we present this evidence. It's not going to be something that's going to be just a little bit. We're going to present as much of it as we can, and we want real people involved in it. We need faces attached to this, and I believe we have enough faces attached to it where people are finally going to wake up and realize that this is not some machination of the right. It's not some right-wing conspiracy. This is actually happening in our classroom, and we need to do something about it. So right now it's going very well. It's just a lot bigger than we thought it was.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I will. Lieutenant Governor,
Yes,
it
ma'am.
is a pleasure to see you again. I'm
Yes,
Catherine
ma'am.
Gutman. I'm one
Thank
of
you.
your biggest fans.
Thank
I
you.
am delighted to see you as the Lieutenant Governor, and I'm hoping in 3 years we're going to be talking to you as the Governor.
Oh, yes, sir.
Senator, because we need you right here in North Carolina.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
The question I have, one of Trump's executive orders was giving local communities, states and local communities, some power over decisions with regard to immigrants being located in our communities.
Yes.
And that, of course, that was one of the executive orders that Biden rescinded.
Right.
So my question for you is, given the massive destruction that uncontrolled immigration brings to communities, what are the measures that are available to us here in North Carolina to fight against having illegal immigrants relocated into our own communities?
Well, again, it's going to come down to what the legislature can put its head together and come up with, which again is why it's so important for us to stay engaged. If we want this to go right in our state, the very first thing that we have to do is we have to get engaged on a local level, and we have to get engaged on a state level. We have got to keep control of our House, and we've got to keep control of our Senate, and we need the governor's mansion as well. That is going to be the first step. After that, from what I've seen from the legislatures who are there now, we have some great legislators. I believe that we can come together, put our heads together, come up with a comprehensive plan that will protect us from anything that the federal government is doing, including the lack of closing up our borders. I don't understand how I understand why they think this way, because it's their way of being able to create a voting base. But we got to get people to understand this. If we don't close up the border, it's not about the massive amounts of people that are coming over who are not criminal elements. It's about that small amount that are the criminal elements and where they are going to go. Those folks are not going to go to where Roy Cooper lives, or where Josh Stein lives, or where Nancy Pelosi lives. They're going to go to the poorest of the poor neighborhoods and victimize the folks in those neighborhoods. They're going to victimize some of the same people who have stripped and saved to come here legally, which is why we have got to make every move possible to make sure that doesn't happen. I think the federal government is failing by and large. Of course, what we've seen, they're failing by and large. So it's going to take the legislature to actually come together to do something about it. Don't know how that looks, but I'm sure that we can do it. I'm confident. But the major step in doing that is making sure that we keep control of the House and keep control of the Senate right here in North Carolina. And take the governor's mansion. That's right.
Governor, around the nation, there's mounting evidence that there was indeed serious issues of having to do with election integrity in 2020. And many of us in North Carolina are very worried about what happened or didn't in North Carolina also. Major Getz has analyzed data from North Carolina and feels that there is significant reason for us to be very concerned. So I have, the question is, will the North Carolina legislature invite Major Getz to present his findings? And his findings do indicate that our elections in 2020, particularly for Council of State positions, were manipulated. Will they do something about it? And in addition, there really has been, as far as I can tell, no investigation of the hardware. And I'm wondering if there's a plan to ensure that there were not modems and that they were not manipulated through the internet.
Right. From what I've seen, there's really not. The problem with this entire thing with voter fraud is this: nobody wants to stand up and say it because nobody wants to look like a conspiracy nut. But I'm sorry, I don't believe more people voted for Joe Biden than did for Barack Obama. I don't believe it. I don't believe some of the election results from around the country. I'm sorry, people can get mad at me if WRAL is out there listening. I know you don't like it, go ahead and write it. I don't believe it. But here's what I know for a fact. I know this for a fact. I can't say for certain that there was voted for. I can't say that with certain, 100% certain. But I can say this: there is absolutely no reason why the greatest constitutional republic in history should have to wait 2 months to find out who won the presidency of the United States. There's no reason why. And the fact of, and I'm not going to say we necessarily need a commission to find out if there was voter fraud, but we need a commission to come together to shore up our election process, to make our machines world class, to make our system world class, and to make sure that we purge any attempts of voter fraud from our election process. I don't know if we can find out what happened in 2020, but I do know moving forward, if we do the right thing, we can keep it from happening again. We can remove those questions. And I really believe that that's where the focus needs to be. The focus needs to be on the machines, the machinery, and how we do our elections in this country. Because right now, it is fast, it is loose, and it is rife with fraud as far as I'm concerned. It needs to end, and I think that's where the focus needs to be. Because I'll be quite honest with you, I don't think we're ever going to prove 100% about what happened in 2020.
But we haven't tried.
We have not tried, but I think more effort should be put into making sure that it does not happen again. And I think that's where the focus should be.
I would only say that, in my opinion, unless we know or have a very good idea of what already happened,
Yes,
it's very difficult to prevent that from reoccurring.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
but
That's the thing. I think we already know what the issues are. Number one, the voter ID. Number two, are the machines and where the machines are made and how the machines operate. And then it moves on from there. I think if we look at every one of those issues and tackle those issues, we can fix the problems. I wish we could get to the bottom of what happened in 2020. And quite frankly, I would like to. But I think the major focus right now is to make sure it doesn't happen.
Thank you very much, first of all, for taking time from your busy schedule to come and spend time with us tonight. Very simple question for you. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the dangers of critical race theory.
Oh, Okay, let's see. Critical race theory is. Boy, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Critical race theory is the Klan with a tank. Yeah, I'm in trouble. Critical race theory is bigotry. It's sheer bigotry. You know, we have a history in this country. We have a history in this country that if you teach it like it happened, white children and black children can sit in the classroom and say, gosh, haven't we come a long way? Look at the wonderful things that we've done. Look how close we've become. Look how much bad stuff we've overcome to become so close, to be able to sit in the classroom together, to be sitting to work in the workplace together, to sit together in the football stadium, to play together in the football stadium. All these things that we have to celebrate in this nation that we have overcome when it comes to race. And what are we doing? We're going backwards. Right. We're doing the same thing the Klan used to do when they used to tell white people to be suspicious of black people because black people had, you know, smaller brains and tails. I'm being serious when I say this. And now we're sitting in the classroom and we're telling black students that just because that kid sitting next to you has white skin, there's something fundamentally wrong with him. He doesn't like you. There's enmity between you and him because of the color of your skin. That is wrong. And there's no reason why we should be teaching our children that this day and age or anyone else. We made such progress in this nation. We've made more progress in this nation than any other nation on earth. Do you realize that there are places in this country, in this world, westernized states, when they have soccer matches, black players come on the field and people throw bananas on the field. That's happening today. That didn't happen 10 years ago. That's happening now. There are places around the world right now where you can't go because you're the wrong religion, because you're the wrong color, or because you're the wrong sex, or the wrong sexual orientation. That doesn't exist in this country. It's time for the people in this country that are telling those lies to be told they're liars. And they're doing it in our classroom with critical race theory, and it is dangerous because I can assure you, the enmity that's building up between folks, it's going to explode eventually. We've seen it in the past. We learned how to overcome it once. And now we got folks trying to introduce it again. We got to fight against it with everything we got, folks. Because if we don't, we're going to create a society that's going to take us backwards, not forward. Hey, cool shirt. Where'd you get that?
Hey, I was Mark Robinson before Mark Robinson was cool.
All right.
First of all, I want to say thanks for your time.
Yes.
And how it is, and thank you for not going for Senate. I think Mr. Walker's got that covered and is going to represent us well. Segue to your previous question, but one of the things that the Republican Party has always had going against it is bringing in minorities and not seeing us as racists and bigots and everything that they demonize us to be. What do we need to do as Republicans to see how, you know, we really are as a party, not the fringe?
Okay, so this is something that is very, very important to me, and I'm glad you asked this question. I'm not reading off this paper, guys. I'm not Joe Biden. I hate the papers up here. You're gonna be like, "Are you reading off that paper?" Here it is. Do you know why the Republican Party has not expanded its borders when we talk about drawing in minorities and women? Anybody want to guess why? Throw your hand up and guess what? Money. Money. Bribery. You're headed right in the right place. This, she said, marketing. That's about the closest answer that I've heard. Here it is. I'm going to tell you why. Because Republicans let everybody else tell who they Oh. We let CNN do it. We let ABC do it. We let, what's that other? MSNBC do it. We let The View do it. We let that weirdo at the college with the blue hair and the tackle box in his face do it. Everybody else tells who we are. Rich, old, white men who stand up for the 1%. That's who Republicans are. People ask folks, was at a meeting the other day, and I think my troopers might have been there. There was a senator there that I respect a great deal. And she said that when folks ask you why you're a Republican, don't tell them that you're a member of the grand old party. She said there's nothing cool about that. Tell them you're a member of the Great Opportunity Party. That's what she said. Now that sounds good, doesn't it? But let me tell you something about that moniker called Grand Old Party. I am proud of that moniker. We do not need to change that moniker. What we need to do is we need to learn who we are as Republicans. And here we are. Here's what we are as Republicans. We're not all about limiting taxes, or smaller taxes, less taxes, and limited government. We're not all about standing up for business and making sure that the economy is roaring. That's not what the Republican Party was founded to do. The Republican Party was founded for one principle: freedom for everyone. And Republicans need to learn that story. We need to learn the story of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment to the Constitution. We need to learn the fact that it was Republicans that repudiated Jim Crow and Democrats who created Jim Crow. We need to tell folks that it was Republicans who had to fight Woodrow Wilson over the issue of giving women the right to vote. And the same is true today. It is Republicans who stand up for the unborn, who stand up for Second Amendment rights, who stand up for parents' school choice, who stand up for law enforcement, who stand up for our veterans, who stand up for this nation. We are still standing for freedom this day. I am not a Republican because I want less taxes. I'm a Republican because I believe in this constitutional republic and I believe in the freedom thereof for everyone. And that's the message that we need to be telling everybody. That's the marketing we need to be doing. We need to be telling our story about why our party is the grand old party with a grand old history of fighting for freedom. That's what we need to start telling folks. And if we do that, we'll see a lot of change, I believe.
Well, I work for you indirectly, and I'm hoping in 3 years I work for you directly as a governor.
Hey, your name is Mark, too.
It is.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to bring up is how do we, I'm in the education action team, how do we bring back the 1970s with my dad and parents? They worked in conjunction with the teachers, the admin, as a community, a unified community, as proud Americans. How do we get back there?
And this is going to sound like an overly simplified answer, but the way we get back to that is to get involved. That's how we've got so far away. We've gotten too far away. I said this before. I said this, if we could fill up the school board meeting, same way we filled the football stadium, we can make a lot of change. We have got to get involved on the local level. Presidency is important. The Senate is important. Congressman is important. Governor, lieutenant governors, that's all important. But the politics that affect our lives the most are the politics that are closest to our front door. The politician that lives closest to you is the most important politician normally in your life. He's deciding on what your taxes are going to look like, what the schools are going to look like. Those are the folks that are making those decisions. We need to get involved with these school boards. We need to go to these school board meetings, know who's on our school board, what they're doing, what they're pushing, and when they're not doing our will, we need to vote them out and put people on the boards that are. And if we can't find suitable candidates, we need to run ourselves. That's the secret. The secret is getting involved. The
Orange County, Roy Williams just retired, and I know another Roy that needs to retire. So on behalf of Orange County,
All right,
I want to give you on our hats.
All right.
And when he's in Houston tomorrow, present before the NRA convention, I know he's gonna be on our minds back here in Orange County, because we're a fan of yours.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Give him a hand up. He gave us an hour